Hello everyone and welcome to the review of the Glewel Elite e-bike. This is a 20-inch full suspension model and this should be a very interesting ride. So let's start with the basics. This bike is available on European market, but probably it's going to be available also internationally. This exact model is assembled in Poland, which is very interesting. It's kind of a novelty, and it has a different design from the other e-bikes that I usually test, and that makes it intriguing for me. Also, being made in Europe, it's fully EU legal, so there is no throttle like you are used to, and the bike is of course limited to 25 kilometers per hour, 250 watt limited power, and you get full certification here with EPAC, EN standard. You get the address of the manufacturer from the Poland and all the specifications such as speed, limit, power, and so on. So the bike is fully legal. Also, the motor is rated to 250 watts of power. And in case you are saying that 250 watts is not for me, I want a powerful e-bike, I want to go faster, like all my comments on all my videos start to split up in having EU legal bikes and having powerful bikes. Well, actually this bike has a secret. I'm not going to share it right now, but I just want to tell you that you can actually unlock this for much greater performance that the European version offers. So keep that in mind, and we are kind of going to mix the performance test in this review because I actually want to see the full potential of the motor, the 250 watt motor. They actually went even farther than that, and they wrote on it 249 watts of power, so it doesn't even have 250. That's very funny but interesting. But that motor has a lot of torque built into it because it's a geared motor, planetary geared motor, and it has a one-way clutch that makes it very efficient. Actually, in the motor hub inside there are some gears, and the motor, it's not this casing, it's internal, and it spins about 4 times faster than the wheel spins, but with the gearing it increases the torque of the motor about 4 times. So comparing this with a regular hub motor, this provides a lot more torque. So even when you see 250 watts on this motor, you can compare it with the torque of a motor that has 4 times more power than this one. And now let's move into the details of this bike. So the build quality is really good. It's actually one of the best built e-bikes that I have seen until now because they have took attention to everything. So we get grommets for the cable so they do not rub on the frame, and they also look nice. We get a really nice paint job, very solid frame. We get adjustable air suspension in the back. You can fill it up here. It has 2 chambers, one in the lower part, one in the upper part, so you can adjust the rebound and pressure with an air pump. So that's really nice. Then we have the suspension system, which doesn't use that regular arms that you see on all suspension folding bikes. So these are somehow covered with this part, and this is one solid metal part here, and the hinge is underneath that. You get here just 2 showing screws, but on the other side here they actually have fully hidden them to make this bike look even better. The front suspension is also adjustable and lockable, so you can choose whatever you want to fully lock it. That's good for when you are climbing on steep roads, asphalt roads. That makes the bike a bit more efficient when you are really putting some pedaling power into it. And you can also adjust the preload to make the bike smooth or hard for your riding style. The transmission is done by having 8 gears in the back, 1 in the front. It's a Shimano gear set with Shimano Altus shifter, and we get a rapid fire here to change the gears very fast. The tires are also interesting, as we get Kenda Crushade Sport tires. And what is interesting about these, as they are fat tires, you can run them up to as low as 5 psi to 30 psi. But at 5 psi they are going to be soft as jello, so you can do some really nice riding on sand, on snow, on mud. You get extra comfort and very good grip and traction. As for build quality and attention to details, for instance, the rear mudguard has 2 fixing brackets, one in the front, one in the back. Both are knitted to the mudguard, and the mudguard is made out of actually plastic, so it doesn't make any kind of noise. This is silent, and it covers the most important area of the tire, so you don't get dirty. Also, it has extra metal wire bar that holds it in place. Same goes for the front mudguard, with holding it very good here, but this one only has 1 single bracket, although this one is smaller in size. The bike also comes fully light legal, let's call it that way, or safety pack legal, because it has a front LED lamp. It has side wheel reflectors, which are mandatory in some European countries. You get the reflectors on the pedal, side reflector there on the wheel, and we also get an LED and refractor light on the back here. Stopping power is also okay. It uses disc brakes, 100 millimeters, both front and back. They are cabled regular disc brakes, mechanical disc brakes. Besides being a folding bike, so you can fold the frame in half, and you can also fold the steering stem. This is also adjustable. You can of course adjust the seat height, and you can adjust the handlebar height. And this bike, in this form, this size, it can adapt from tiny people to very large people. So regardless of your height, you will get a decent position on this bike, so you can ride it naturally without straining yourself to grab the handlebar, or the seat being way too high or way too low or way too far from the handlebar. But interesting stuff doesn't end here. So we get grommets in the back here. The cables are hidden in the frame, so you don't, all the cables are going in here, and they go to the frame, also in the folding part, and they came out in the back, so the frame is nice and clean. You get a lot of plastic caps everywhere, so you get plastic caps even for the crank arm here. You get plastic caps on the screws that hold the front wheel. So everything is taken into consideration, and there are those small details that make it look nice. So this one, the brake cable, it has a small bracket that holds it in place. I've seen e-bikes that just use a zip tie here and don't have such a bracket. Even the kickstand is interesting because it has an adjusting screw here, so depending on the weight of your bike and the age of your bike and what you are putting on the bike, you can adjust this so the bike is more lean and more stable to the side, and if it's too heavy you can straighten up a bit. So even that is adjustable, so really nice touch. And here where it fixes to the frame, this frame doesn't have a bracket, so if you don't want to use a kickstand, some people don't like to use mud guards and racks and kickstand because they add weight and they make the bike less sporty looking. You can take them off, and if you take this off, you are not going to have here the bracket where to fix the screws for this, because this comes out entirely. And not to scratch the paint here, this one is also fixed with rubber around the frame, so it protects the paint. Also, the wheels are nicely made because they are smoothened out, they are not so apparent, and the paint job is very good. It's kind of not the rubber soft paint, but it feels nice to the touch. It's a kind of a more thicker paint, not the paint that it's very thin. So Probably this also is a bit more scratch proof, I don't know that, but it feels great even to the touch. So a really nice part here, and look at this intriguing design also where it holds the brake caliper. It looks really nice as a design, and with that color there, the combination of orange and black, I must say that it looks really nice. Like all the folding bikes, this is done very easy, but I'm going to fold the frame to show you the battery and how the battery is installed on this bike. So you have the safety clasp here that you take off, then the clasp that holds the bike, and just like that. Now I have folded the bike in half, and you can see here the battery and the cables that are also protected in a very thick protecting spiral, so they do not rub on the frame when you are taking the battery out. The battery has a key, so if you leave the bike parked somewhere and you don't want someone to steal your battery, you can lock it into the frame. Now I have unlocked it, and now I'm taking the battery out, and I want to show you something very interesting about this battery. Let me get closer to the camera. So I was talking about quality and attention to details. You might know that even on my greatest e-bikes that I have tested until now, probably all of them had the dreaded battery rattle, because the batteries were encased in an aluminum can, and the frame being aluminum or other alloy, this had a little space and it just rattled inside, and when it was rattling it was making a horrible noise. So the fix for that was to take the battery out and put some tape foam on it, so it takes less space, it enters there forced, and sorry about that. It forces the battery inside so it doesn't rattle anymore. Well, this one has foam installed at the factory on both sides, and it has this shape to fit there very snuggle into it, and has a plastic case, which is actually better because this is lighter, slides in easier, and with the foam doesn't make any kind of noise. And if you are wondering about the capacity, this one is a 48 volt battery with 13 amp hour capacity. The battery also has a main power on, power off switch. This shuts down the battery, so the bike cannot be turned on from the display and electronics will not work on it. This is good when you are storing the bike for a longer time, so it doesn't draw any power from the battery. Also, you can charge the battery itself with this port here, but you can also charge the battery on the bike frame, and you get here a charging extra plug, so you can connect your charger here or there. So if you are going to the job or somewhere else, you can take the battery with you and charge it indoor while you leave the bike parked somewhere else. Okay, so enough with the talk. We need to actually ride this to see how it performs and to get an idea. Also, I'm going to mention that I weigh about 87 kilograms because I've taken a bit some extra weight, and today my backpack is also heavy and has about 4 to 5 kilograms. So keep that in mind when you are assessing the performance of the bike with me accelerating and getting speed onto it. So let's power it on. By the way, the display, it's a Yolin display, and this has a lot of surprises into it. You have the power button underneath, you have plus minus here to change different settings, you have an I button here and other light button, so you can turn on the light from here, and you also have a horn, electric horn. So let's ride it. Hopefully you are going to see something on the screen. The screen is visible in daylight, it's not the brightest display. This is also color display. It looks really nice, thin, like a modern TV or smartphone. Alright, so I'm on assisted gear 1, and let's pedal it. And the assisted mode kicked right in. And from the start I can say that this is the most comfortable e-bike that I have rode in a very long time. If somehow not actually the most comfortable one. This is simply absorbing all the bump, all the shocks. It's the best combination of suspension and tires that I have rode until now. This is amazing. And even on assisted level 1 and with low gear, I'm actually on 3rd gear right now, I can pedal through this terrain like I'm not putting any kind of effort. It's just like walking. So if I put it on gear 2, I get a lot of extra power, and I actually need to change the gear to keep up with the assisted mode. This bike uses a normal cadence sensor, so it measures the pedaling activity and then tries to help you by assisting with the motor. It's not a torque sensor, but it runs pretty nice, and it doesn't have that big and weird delay that you get on some kind of other bikes, because there are some bikes that have a very long delay when you are pedaling. I'm going to turn around. You know what? Let's see if I can do this. Wow, this is a grass crosser. Wow, this has so much power. So on the last 5th assisted mode, let's see what happens now. Oh, this is getting insane. Having already, I was getting to 27 kilometers per hour. This is crazy. I must mention that when I was not filming, I did some magic with the Olin. We are very good friends, and I told him today that we are not in Europe, so I want some magic from this bike. This is impossible to ride uphill with the bike. Luckily, this bike has walk assist mode, so pressing the minus and holding it pressed for a few seconds, the bike starts to go uphill by itself. And walk assist here, it's critical because this is so steep that you will not be able to get uphill. You can barely walk uphill here. Even the bike motor, the wheel slips when getting uphill, but we did it. And now we can cut this by touching either of the brake levers. And now some proper testing, because we did some nasty off-road there. Not a true off-road, but not the perfect condition. So I'm at the start. I'm on assisted 0-1 and 1st gear. So this being a motor with clutch means that if there is no power going into the motor and if I pedal, I should be able to pedal this like a normal bike. And I have started, and I feel that the bike is simply a fat bike, a heavy fat bike, because this bike has somewhere around 30 kilograms, and I have a lot of kilograms, and the backpack is rather heavy. But I'm riding with no problem in a low gear, and I've started from standstill, no problem, no assisted. I can even change the gears and go faster. And even faster, I'm on 3rd gear already, 4th gear, 5th gear. I'm pedaling the bike with no power in 6th gear, and I'm doing 80 kilometers per hour. So the gearing is very low, and having 8 gears, you have plenty to choose from. And now I'm not pedaling, I'm not doing anything. It's not assisted, it's not using power. But look at that, it's just going and going and going and going, because the motor has disconnected and it's not providing any kind of drag. So this bike is also very efficient while you are coasting with it, because it doesn't need constant power from you or the battery to just maintain the speed or go downhill. And now let's check the assisted modes and speed. So I'm on gear 1, I'm already on 4th gear. It accelerates pretty good, and as I've told you, it doesn't have a big delay. And now I'm doing 10-11 kilometers per hour with minimum effort. It's very enjoyable to ride it slow like this. You don't feel any kind of effort. It's just like doing a very easy exercise. You are moving your legs. The good thing is that somehow the assisted modes here kind of are matched with the gears, so you can always find the balance between the gear, the electronic gear, and the bike gear, so you don't ghost pedal it, so you can actually help the bike with your own energy, so it's truly assisted. 2nd gear, we feel a bump in speed. We are doing 15 kilometers per hour. I need to change a gear. This is nice. 3rd assisted mode, we're doing 18 kilometers per hour. And I need to change another gear. And 4th assisted mode, we are now getting a bit of speed, 21 kilometers per hour. I need to change another gear. I'm on gear 7, so I only have gear 8 remaining. And now the all-in magic that was off the screen, mode 5. I have selected gear 8, and let's see what this bike can do. So I'm going to help it a bit. And the motor is still working. And I hope that you can see on screen that I'm doing 39 kilometers per hour. And I'm not doing much of an effort. It's just like I'm helping the bike a bit. If I try to ghost pedal it, let's see what it will happen. If I ghost pedal it, it's going to keep it around 35 kilometers per hour. So currently I'm just simulating pedaling, and the bike is doing 35, which is actually very good for the size, the weight, and the shape of this bike, because this is somehow a combination of built like a tank that rides on air. You can do this. I don't recommend you because you are going to break your tires. I can barely feel that I'm jumping this curb. This is amazing. The suspension on this bike is addictive. It makes you actually want to hit curbs and potholes. So just to feel that suspension working, this is like magic. Another thing that I like very much is that this bike is very well built, so it doesn't make any kind of noise. It's just like one solid piece of metal. It's really well put together. It's very stable. It's very quiet. You can only hear the tires, that specific noise, and you can hear the motor because it has gears. But it's somehow very strange because it's super maneuverable. So I'm riding with just one hand and hitting curbs. And the handlebar, it's just like having a car or something. It's not like riding on two wheels. And now some true fun to test that suspension even more. This is so nice. This is so comfortable again. It makes this such a pleasant ride, even with the bumps from the forest. It feels extremely pleasant. It makes it to be a joyride. And the tires are having huge amount of grip. This is very predictable. You can take sharp turns with it. You can brake very fast. And of course we can do some speed running with common sense, of course. And the suspension is doing a brilliant job. Keeps the wheels on the terrain, so you have control. The brakes are also okay. They can stop you. It's really nice. And on the forest where you have those roots that cross the path, those get fully absorbed in, and the wheel keeps traction and control over the terrain. I can't get over that. It feels too good. Okay, I'm not going to jump that, but I can pass it. And I was telling you that this bike feels somehow massive, solid from one single piece. Well, yes, but also this is incredibly maneuverable, so you can take very sharp turns with it. You don't feel it heavy, you don't feel anything. You just feel the control that you have over the bike. Alright, and that was the test run, and it's now time for some final conclusions. So as you can see, the bike performs really well, and I kept saying that this bike is so comfortable because yes, that's true. The suspension on this bike is absolutely stunning. So definitely the best suspension on a full suspension bike that I have tested in a long time until now. It's just like floating on air. And besides having that adjustable suspension, the tires are also a nice change, and you can go with them with lower pressure, so they soak up a lot of those small bumps, and the suspension takes the big bumps out. It's simply outstanding. Another thing that I like very much is the build quality. The bike is really well put together. It doesn't have any kind of rattling parts, no strange noises, nothing. You can drop it, you can there just one single noise that you might hear in this video is this thing. The saddle, which is a Sail Royal, has a removable clip here, and I think that there is this is a quick install for a stop lamp. I might be right, or maybe not, I might be mistaken, but this one you can actually, if you wait a bit, I can take this out. There you go. So that's the only single rattling part on the whole bike. There is no other noise on it. I have also enjoyed the gear ratios and the rapid fire shifter because besides being comfortable and rapid to use and precise, the gear range here, it's very well chosen with the current motor configuration. So you can ride the bike very slow, you can go very steep uphills, you get a lot of torque from your pedaling and also from the motor. But if you want to go fast, you can actually pedal together with this bike and do comfortable 35 kilometers per hour. So you can get a boost in speed, keeping in mind and judging that this is a bike made for comfort and going on snow, sand, mud, so rougher terrain. It's not a bike to go downhill in high speed. It's a bike with other type of usage, and for that type of usage the gearing is perfect, so you don't feel over pedaling, so pedaling too fast or having too higher gears, so to struggle uphill. So in the speed range, the speed range that the motor can actually help you, the gearing is perfect. As for the 35 kilometer top speed and this all-in display, yes, this bike can be unlocked. It's locked by the factory. It requires a security code. This is made specially, so if it's sold in Europe, it cannot be unlocked. But there is a possibility there. That is to be discussed in another video regarding the speed and the idea of EU compliant bike. So this bike is fully EU compliant, 25 kilometers per hour, 250 watts of power, and that's it, and no throttle. Still, if you are considering this bike for the frame, for the suspension, for the build quality, I must tell you the truth that this bike can support installing an additional throttle, so you can do the so-called throttle mode and install a throttle, and you can unlock the speed to something like 35 kilometers per hour, maybe a bit more depending on your weight. So there is more potential from the bike when you get it. Other thing that I like is the rear rack, very solid, and it's included with the bike. Also the mud guards, I like them because although they are made from plastics, they don't rattle, they don't rust, and they are very light, so they don't add a lot of considerable weight to the bike, but improve the overall cleanness of your ride and of your bike without any kind of drawbacks. And you also know that my motto is that there is no perfect product, and I always need to find some cons even for products that I like very much, because there are some things that could be improved or things that I didn't like so much. And there are only two things on this bike. First one is the pedals. The pedals are actually, beside being foldable, they are simply cheap plastic pedals. They work okay, but they could have been better because they could have better bearings and maybe a metal core here, so the bearings could sit better. So this could be slightly improved. The second thing is the brakes. The brakes are very good. They stop you. You can actually lock the wheels if you adjust them, but they are simple cable brakes. So usually on this bike, the first upgrade you do, you can get a semi-hydraulic brake system or full hydraulic. I'm not a big fan of hydraulics. Yes, they are good, they have stopping power, but there are also a lot more better cable brakes made by Shimano and other brands. So these are just stock standard single side actioning, so when you are pulling the brake lever, you are just acting on a single brake pad that pushes into the disc, and the disc will rub on the other side on the fixed brake pad. So that's standard. So that are the only two cons that I have the bike. So the pedals could have been a bit better, and maybe the brakes. Also forgot about another pro, the grips. The standard grips, they have actually screw mounted grips, and those are very cool because you can also take them out very easy when you want to change things here, but they never ever twist on the handlebar. That's an issue I got on a lot of other bikes. These will rotate around the handle. So with screw mounts here, you can also take them out easy and they will not slip out. So that's actually a small pro, but a big pro from me. So that was it for now. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Be sure to follow my next uploads, where definitely you are going to see this bike again. Until then, see you and bye bye.